Howdy, howdy. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Where is everybody today? Where are we? Are you deciding right now whether or not to go live with me? Because today we're going to be talking about 7 ways to combat decision fatigue. 7 ways to combat decision fatigue. And let's talk about first how many decisions the average person makes, first and foremost. 35,000. 35,000 decisions a person makes, the average person. So if you're a high performer, a high achiever, you're probably making more decisions than that. Or you're making around the same amount of decisions, but your life is impacted by other people you've delegated to make decisions for you or to work with you and make some of the decisions that you don't have to make anymore, which we're going to get into here soon. So what is decision fatigue? Decision fatigue is the idea that after making many decisions, your ability to make more and more and more decisions over and over and over and over become worse and worse. You feel that, right? Same thing with willpower. It becomes worse and worse. So this is actually brought to you by Dr. MacLean, a psychiatrist. He says the more decisions you have to make, right? Because we are in these worlds of holding titles, roles, responsibilities. We get hired to do things. And in doing those things, we're making decisions. And decision after decision creates more fatigue. And you develop that throughout the day. And the more difficult it can become in making the decisions later in the day. So this is what's holding you back in business and life. If you are feeling drained, if you're feeling anxiety, maybe a little blue or depressed, and actually depression, lack of community, and anxiety can also contribute to decision fatigue. So if you're waking up feeling anxious or depressed or lack of connection, lack of community, that can also be an activator for decision fatigue, which is why consciously, intentionally surrounding yourself with people, community that supports you and your vision, your mission in life is critical, is really critical. Because if we're feeling fatigued, not vibrant, it's the opposite of fatigued, is vibrant, then we are showing up in spaces, in being in life from a fatigue state that's a low vibe energy, right? But when we are intentional and consciously choosing to recharge and reset and to know better, because now we know better, we can do better, we can be better, it can take us to a whole nother level. So what can we do to prevent decision fatigue? Number 1 is streamline your choices. Create patterns and habits that require you to not only have to make a decision because the decision was already made in advance. So when you think you have to do something, think about your whole day and the things you have to decide on or have to do, and what can you do in advance to make sure that decision is already done. We do this with planning on a calendar, right? So we don't have to decide who we're meeting at what time every single day. We plan in advance. We put people on our calendars or things on our calendars that are important to us so that it's already decided for us. This is where I'm going to be at this time on this day. And what piggybacks tip number 1 is tip number 2, which is to plan ahead, own your day as much as you can. There are a lot of things that are in your control, and there's even more things outside of your control, especially if you wear many, many hats and roles and titles in this world, right? So what can you do? When can you do it? Eating, what you're wearing, who you're meeting with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What can you plan out and as much in advance? And then also going back to tip number 1, where can you streamline your choices? And I bring this up when you're creating new habits in life. Like this is also a habit. How you plan becomes a habit, and habit stacking, right? So you can stack things to make decisions easier. So it's like, I'm going to do this every time I do this. So now I don't have to decide when I'm going to do it because I'm doing these 2 things together. So there's a bonus power move tip right there for you. Tip number 3 is to automate. Paying your bills, using GPS. Automate. That is the key. Automation is a beautiful thing. Automation in certain areas of life, right? Automating connection with human beings, that to me is a whole nother topic because connection should be in real, honest to goodness, like connection, not AI connection, I guess. I'm going there. AI connection is a whole nother topic. there are ways and technologies and tools that can automate things in life that should not require more brain power or decision making on your half, because automation makes it easier, makes it simple and dependable and reliable, and takes that off your plate per se. So this also kind of piggybacks again into another tip number 4, which is delegate. Delegate decision making or the task itself. This is what you do when you hire a team. This is what you do when you can, not even a team, you can delegate within your own family household, right? That's a beautiful thing. But make sure the person is in agreement when you delegate. This is not putting expectations on other people, which you can go listen to my other episode on this, expectations versus agreements, right? Sometimes people have unspoken agreements that doesn't feel good. That let's make an agreement for the task itself, and let's co-create together who's going to do it and when, so that you know it's happening. You don't have to micromanage or be told to do it every time, or telling the other person to do it every time. And you don't have to be told if you take on something that you're going to do for somebody else as part of a team or a community. That's your agreement, right? And now you're taking care of that, and you don't have to involve anybody else's decision making in that. You're in charge. Tip number 5 is make the big decisions in the morning when you're feeling refreshed, when you are recharged, when you've already had a reset. Sleeping is an automatic reset. It's a beautiful thing when you get good sleep. And those things, those decisions in life that require careful consideration, do that first thing in the morning, or somewhere in the first part of your day. Because again, you're going to be making decisions no matter what throughout the day as life is continuing to happen. And the more you can put the big rocks, the important things first, the better off you will be with that. Tip number 6 is simplifying your life. Simplifying your life. This goes back to tip number 1, streamlining your choices, because it makes me think of Simplifying Your Life of Steve Jobs and the iconic turtleneck, the black turtleneck that he would wear. And it was just, that's what he was known for. But that was one last decision he had. That he didn't have to think about what he was wearing every day. He just put on one of his black turtlenecks, right? So when you simplify your life, think of this too as not just what you're doing, but what you're saying yes to other people. As a recovering people pleaser right here, and a make it happen person as well over here. Recovering from both of those is just a way of who I am. It's part of my superpower, but it's also, if I'm too much of that and out of harmony or out of balance, it can be a fatiguing experience, right? So it's time to reassess, set boundaries, and simplify in some of those commitments that no longer serve you and your vision with integrity, right? And watch how much time in life you get back. Watch how much you can already start to live more fully into your vision. And it's pretty cool how that works out. But again, it's every season of every life looks a little different, and do that with integrity, right? And simplify your living space, simplify the things that you have out, the things that you use. Does everything have a home? Does it take less time to put things away? There's so much you can do with simplify, and that's one of my superpowers. I love going into people's spaces and simplifying, right? It's not what I do professionally, by the way, so please don't DM me to hire me out to do that. But it's fun to do. Like it's part of like my meditative reset, I guess is the way to put it. Is going through my closet, my kids' closets, and just cleaning stuff out, simplifying, donating, and giving things to other people that can continue to use those things, right? Tip number 7 is to trust yourself. Trust yourself in your decision-making. Don't go sleep on things. Don't go pray in the prayer closet for 7 days. When you're making a decision, all you have to do is put your hand on your heart, close your eyes 30 to 60 seconds, and ask yourself, would you love it? Would you love that next opportunity? Would you love to experience that with somebody? Would you love to experience that by yourself? Would you love whatever it is you're deciding yes or no on? That's it. Would I love chocolate or vanilla? How about both today? Yes, and. Okay. Do it. Decide to move on. Decide to move on. Practice this with the little things that aren't the big decisions. And the more you practice it like this, the better you're firing and wiring your decision-making muscles, and you'll get better and better and better and better at this. So trust yourself anywhere at any time. And again, if you know here in your heart space, I'm putting my hands on my chest because it's your heart space. It's the inner knowing. It's the inner guidance system that you're connected to the infinite source that breathes you, right? Logically, you can come up with all these ways why it would go wrong and why you shouldn't do it, right? And yet logically, you can come up with all the ways that you should do it, right? But is it in alignment with you? Does it feel light and expansive for you? And if it doesn't, it's a no. And no is enough to be an answer. No is a decision. Yes is a decision. That's it. You don't have to justify, explain. You don't have to, just justify and explain. Let that part go. Let it all go. You simply cannot mess this up. You cannot mess anything up. If it's in you, the desire, it's for you. It might feel a little messy as you're making decisions and you're like, oh, kind of wish I didn't make that decision. Like, is that really a regret? Is there a way that you can still learn and build and grow from it, right? Regrets are still a choice. The feeling of regret is a choice. That's probably for another topic and another time. So going back through these tips real quick. Tip number 1, streamline your choices. Tip number 2 is to plan ahead. Tip number 3 is to automate. Tip number 4 is to delegate decision-making and the task itself. Tip number 5 is make the big decisions in the morning. Tip number 6 is to simplify your life. Tip number 7 is to trust yourself in making decisions. Trust yourself, trust your inner knowing, trust your intuition. This is called self-mastery. This is self-empowerment. This is how you prevent decision fatigue. When we're fatigued mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, that causes dis-ease in the body. When we have dis-ease in the body, that can manifest as dis-ease in the physical form, right? People get sick and then they get stressed out about being sick because they're missing work, and then they're stressed about the work that they're missing, and then they get sick even more, or it gets a little worse, or they get a little better and then they power through the little bit of feeling better, but they didn't fully recover, and then here we are sick again, right? So if you have any questions about how to, again, prevent decision fatigue, if any of this landed for you, if one of the tips is something that you want to incorporate right away, put that in the comments below. I'd love to hear what's working for you. I'd love to hear where I can hold you accountable to just practicing that one tip. And if it's any of them, I highly recommend it's tip number 7, just trusting yourself and simplifying your life. Those 2 things will be a major game changer. And until next time, I'm going to send you away with so much love. Bye for now.